Good morning, everybody. This is Dr. Jindai A. Stafford, and I am coming to you this morning. I want to talk about a mindset shift. So here we are into the new year, and I know you probably have a lot of goals that you want to meet, a lot of goals that you want to hit, and they're exciting at first. And I know you're like super gung ho, especially in the first of the year. Everybody's like, I'm going to go back to the gym. I'm going to eat right. I'm going to reach that goal. I'm going to lose that weight. I'm going to grow that hair. I'm going to, start that business, whatever it is. We get super excited at first. And then, mid-January, start of February comes and it's like we lost that momentum, right? And so I want to talk about a mindset shift because I am a psychologist, right? So mental health and things like that are my, kind of my expertise, if you will. And so I saw this thing on Instagram, and I was like, that is so very true. And the visual that went with it was great. It was talking about the wealth principle, but it's very, very true in your mindset. And so it says, if you want to change the fruits, you first have to change the roots. And then it says, if you want to change the visible, you must first change the invisible. Right. And so I'm like, that is so true. You cannot plant a seed, like an apple seed, and then expect to grow an orange tree. That's just not how that works. Right. You can't plant, potato root and expect to get a tree or a vine from that. That's not how that works, right? So whatever it is that you're trying to do, you have to sow that particular seed that is going to yield that particular fruit. And so if you're doing that though from a negative place, so say you're trying to lose weight, right? Not because you're just like, oh, I need to lose 5, 10 pounds. Let's say you're trying to lose a significant amount of weight. You cannot go into that factor of the thoughts of a fat person, and I hate to say that so crudely, but you can't go into the whole I'm going to lose weight with the mindset of a fat or heavier person, because you're going to most likely end up really skimping on the calories. Like you're going to go like overshoot it, overkill. And I know I talked about this in a previous video, crowding out versus dieting. Like literally everything that you eat is considered your diet. You can have a high fat diet, low cal diet, um, Mediterranean diet, SAD, standard American diet. You can have like everything that you do, everything that you use to put in your body to give you energy and nourish it is considered a diet. And so, in the crowding out principle, we talk about um, how you don't have to make drastic changes, but you just make those smaller changes and they lead to gradual changes that are major and big. And so when you're going into this as, I want to lose weight, I have a significant amount of weight, you have to baby step it. You like, and there are some people that can be like, boom, they go hard in the paint and then that's it, that's done for them. And it's great. But for most people, right? Those people that go hard in the paint, they literally have hit their rock bottom and they're like, I cannot do this. I cannot do this anymore. My life depends on this. My mental health depends on this. Like my family depends on this. And so they've literally hit that rock bottom point of, I really cannot play around anymore. So those are the people that you usually see go, hard in the paint. However, people who are like, I need to lose the weight or else it's going to create X, Y, and Z. I need to lose the weight because I don't feel attractive to my spouse anymore. I need to lose the weight. Like they're in that teeter totter point still, right? And so until you go like rock bottom, which we don't ever want to hit rock bottom, like especially as a psychologist, like when I meet people, they are um most of the time it's before that rock bottom. Like I know people are thinking if I had to go see a therapist and I'm at my rock bottom. No, most of the time I catch people when they come in, it's right before they get to rock bottom. Now I have had patients that are at their rock bottom is absolutely heartbreaking to witness. But for most people who are not at that rock bottom, it is time for a mindset shift. Okay. It's time to shift your mindset. And so we can do that. Sorry, guys, hold on just a second. I got to make sure. Okay. One point, I didn't think I had my volume on. um, but you can do the mindset shift. It's going to take work. So I'm going to read something that is a really helpful, useful tool, right? So, like I was saying, with the example of losing weight, that's just one example because that's one of the biggest goals that are set, is set for the beginning of the year. And so you cannot have that mentality of, oh my God, I have 60 pounds to lose. Like, you obviously you want to know your goals. You need to know what it is you need to get to. You need to know point A, where you're starting at, and letter Z, where you need to finish at. But in between there, you need to know B through Y, right? Your steps on how you're going to get there. So those are important. However, again, starts in the mind. You have to have your mind made up that you are going to do this. And that can be hard. And like I said before, you cannot go in that mindset of I'm heavy, or else you're gonna. I see it all the time, and I've done work with a program called Breakthrough, and it is a virtual program that works with patients who are working or dealing with mental and metabolic disorders, right? So eating disorders, it's either bulimia, anorexia, or they're overeating, they're heavy, they're having hedonic eating habits. So I have worked with patients and weight. So this is nothing new. I've done this work since I started 2018, took a little break, and then jumped back on it 2022-ish, somewhere around there. And so this is, again, this is not new for me to be doing this work with weight. And so oftentimes you see people when they're making their choices, when they're doing things, they're still coming from that person of heaviness. And even once people have lost the weight, it is hard for them to see themselves as anything but that heavy person that they were because they did the steps. It may have been easy for them to create that habit of working out, eating right, doing whatever it was that they had. And so they dropped the 60 pounds. They're literally four sizes different. And yet they still buy clothes that are way too big because mentally they just checked out. And so that's one of the things I love about the program Breakthrough is because it really does attack that, like, not attack, it addresses, it addresses the mental health aspect because mental health and metabolic health go very closely hand in hand, but that's neither here nor there. So, what I want to share with you is a way that you can actually help yourself, right? And so, it's actually I'll be reading from my book, My Mental Health Matters. And it's something that we psychologists, therapists use. It's called cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT. And I know that's something everybody's like, oh, I've heard of that. And so, I just want to make sure that everybody understands what that is. So, cognitive behavioral therapy is a short term, client centered, goal oriented therapy that is focused on changing patterns of specific thoughts and behaviors, right? Because if you can change your thought process, right, whatever you're thinking, that's what turns into the action. So, your thoughts turn into your words turn into your actions, right? And you're not going to make yourself a liar. If you're sitting there all the time, you're like, oh my gosh, I'm just so fat. Like, I can't work out, I can't lose the weight, then your body is internalizing that. And it's like, okay, so we're just going to hold on to this. We can't do this. We can't do that. You're like, I'm always in pain. So then that's what your mind is always going to focus on. Okay, well, what hurts in the body? Since she's always in pain, like, let's just focus on that, right? Where your mind goes, your focus grows, right? But if you start switching it, you're like, oh my gosh, like, girl, you walk by the mirror, you're like, I look good today. Like, I look a little slim here. I look a little thinner there. I look, then that's like pumping you up and reinforcing you. And your body's like, oh, okay, we're looking good. Like, this is starting to pay off. So guess what? I want more of that workout. Oh, guess what? Like, hey, I'm craving that healthier item. Oh, hey, let's drink some more water. Like, you're reinforcing those thoughts. And those thoughts then they turn around and they, like, stroke your actions and your beliefs and your words. They're like, hey, we're thinking healthy, we're like, so let's speak healthy, let's be kind, right? It's like just a whole shift that happens. So that in essence is cognitive behavioral therapy. We change the way you think, therefore that changes the way you speak, and that's going to change the way that you behave. If you're thinking, oh my gosh, I'm always broke, I'm always poor, I'm this, I'm that, I don't have money for this, that, and the third, you're going to live your life like you don't have it, right? Now, if you're sitting there, you're like, you know what? I have an abundance of money. I have, like, and don't get crazy with it, okay? So don't sit over here and say, oh, well, Dr. Stafford was like, I got to think it and believe it and do it. No, ma'am. No, sir. That's not what I'm talking about. What I'm saying is, if you're thinking to yourself, I have money, like, I am not broke. I just can't participate in that activity at the moment. I just can't purchase that thing at the moment because that doesn't meet my financial goals. You see the difference and how that is? And then guess what's going to happen? You're going to start seeing yourself in that financial shift. And then the next thing you know, because you'll be more mindful of your money, the things that are in that front part of your mind, that's what, again, where your focus goes, your attention, like where your focus goes, your attention grows. Like wherever it is that you're focused on, that's it, right? That's what you're going to be focusing on. So if you change that mindset of stop saying I'm broke, like I stopped saying that after, realizing again, if especially if you're a Christian, you believe in Jesus, like the Bible tells us that death and life are in the power of the tongue. So things that you speak, we talk about manifestation, right? Which is not what I'm talking about today. But if you're talking about that, that's what that means. But that all ties into things like um, cognitive behavioral therapy. So the example that I gave in the book is if a client is thinking or saying to themselves, I'm not good enough to be successful, then it's going to reflect in their behavior. Okay. CBT takes this patient, investigates why they think that way, then works on changing the thought process. So the whole cognitive behavioral therapy is to identify what it is that is that negative context that you're telling yourself. Why do you have that? And then what can we do to change that thought process? And so those are the same steps that you can use in trying in reaching your goals for 2024. Because again, if you're in that negative mindset, if you don't have a shift up here, you're not going to be able to reach your goals. That's science, that's fact, right? Like I'm not speaking it on you, right? I know I just said death and life are in the power of the tongue. I'm not speaking that on you. I'm just telling you what the facts are. So that's why I'm like, let's do something now so we can shift those thought processes, shift that mind, especially now when you're like, yeah, let's get it, because it's the beginning of the year, right? So, okay, let's say that the client that stated that thought that they weren't good enough to be successful, right? Because they don't have a degree. Like, so that's the problem. So even though the client has over 10 years experience in whatever it is they're doing, they don't equate it to the same level of knowledge as a degree. Well, with cognitive behavioral therapy, this helps the client look at their assets and reframe their thought process, which is what I want for you guys to do. And so now, instead of thinking and saying, I'm not good enough, the client is now thinking and saying, I have over a decade, I have over a decade of experience and knowledge in X, Y, and Z, right? So now they're like, you know what? I may not have the degree, but I absolutely have the experience that equates or even surpasses a degree. And we all know a degree is nice. Like I have 6 of them on my wall. However, that experience is money. Okay, that experience is gold. Because how many times do people graduate with a bachelor's or a master's, and it's like, I'm glad you got the education, and you need the experience. And you're just like, can't get the job because I don't have the experience. Well, I can't get the experience because I don't have a job, right? So it's one of the nice things about psychology and therapy is they do internships. So we have to have we do gain experience along the way. But anyways, so that's all I wanted to share with you guys. You know, if you want to change your fruits, you have to first change the roots. Change your thought process. If you want to change the visible things around you, change the invisible. Focus on your thoughts. Um, look up more into cognitive behavioral therapy. Find yourself a life coach, a therapist, a psychologist to work through some of these things, because some things you can work through by yourself. There's tools to do it. That's what the psychologists and the therapists are there for. They give you the tools. They help you in the moment. They hold your hand in the moment, but we give you the tools so that when you face things like this, well beyond therapy, you can do it on your own. Excuse me. And so find yourself, a psychologist, a therapist, a life coach that can kind of like, I mean, life coaches are good in that kind of aspect of helping you um, achieve goals and have mindset shifts. So find somebody that can help you, find an accountability partner. But whatever you do it now in this season when you are gung ho. And even if you're not watching this at the beginning of the year, you happen to be watching this in November or something like that, it's okay. Like you don't need a start of a new year in order to change your thought process. That's the beautiful thing about it, right? Cognitive behavioral therapy, changing your thoughts, changing the way that you think so that you can change the way you speak and change the way that you move and behave and act can happen anytime. It can happen here at the beginning of the year. It can happen in July. You can do this in March. I mean, whenever you can do it in the middle of the day. Like right now, I'm recording this in the morning, but if you are going to bed, excuse me, if you're going to bed right now, you're just like, you know what? I'm making that change. There you go. Anytime. You don't need a specific time of year, specific time of the day to make the changes. So I hope that you found that helpful. Make sure that you like and share this video. Make sure you comment below with anything. If you want any help, anything like that, I'm more than happy to reach out to you and help you. You can go to my website, JendaiAStafford.com, and find a lot of resources there to help you. And I hope you continue to have a blessed and prosperous 2024. I'll see you guys later. Bye.